Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Chris Carpenter, your forever agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, First Look Real Estate here in Spokane, Washington. And today I am joined by Becky from Real Tax Remedies. And I'm so excited to have her because she's such a tremendous resource that we have here in Eastern Washington and Northern Idaho. And so guys, I hope you enjoy. Becky, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I began in the mortgage industry, wholesale lending over in Seattle.
Okay.
Spent about 15 years, worked my way up, was in the rate lock desk, funding, closings, and then went into underwriting in the last about 5 years of my career. During the crash of '07-08, I decided to go back to school and I became a CPA,
Okay.
left the mortgage industry and moved to Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
And so that was in 2011, so it's been about 12 years now, and I immediately went into more of a niche product of the CPA world, and that would be the resolution.
Okay.
And basically what I found was my mortgage lending background held very strongly to helping you guys and lenders and realtors and buyers be able to fit that piece of a puzzle, especially with like those self-employed clients, maybe clients who owe back taxes, maybe have tax lien issues and they still want to buy a house. How do you work around that? How do we help you get to the closing table and get through lending and the underwriter make them happy? Those types of scenarios I understood, whereas other CPAs may not because they were never in the mortgage industry.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it kind of comes down to the difference between just saying, okay, Chris, you get a client and you say your first step is, okay, go get a pre-qualification. Let's see what ballpark you want, and then the lender says, I need 2 years of tax returns. If they're self-employed, let's say they haven't filed 21 yet and we're leading into 2022, right? So that's just
yeah.
right around the corner.
100%.
So what do they say? They say, go get your tax returns filed. Please don't file them until I review them. And then they come back and oftentimes the accountant, the enrolled agent or the CPA will just go ahead and file them because that's habit for them. Sign here, we'll file your returns. And then they bring it back to you and they've written off everything and they show $10,000 of income.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, I thought you made $100,000,
Right.
right?
A little bit of a discrepancy there.
Well,
yeah.
so it comes down to you need someone to put the brakes on, to do a little bit more of tax planning prior to just submitting the return. And then also we offer a service where we just for free have them sign an authorization to release information so that I can communicate with you, I can communicate with the lender, and all three of us can say, okay, what is it that they want and how do we get them there?
I think that's phenomenal. So from the resolution standpoint, I love that word. You work directly with the realtor, with the lender, and the client to make sure that whatever tax resolution that needs to happen happens. So
Absolutely.
So definitely a team approach, right?
A team approach, because you don't want to be the one to tell them, although you could go out and buy a new backhoe for your construction, if you wait and to do that next year after we close the loan, your income will be a little bit better for the underwriter, right? So it's those types of steps where the CPA is going to say, oh, you have a lot of income this year, why don't you go buy something before the end of the year and we'll bring it down and we'll show less income, therefore less taxes paid. And that's where you run into a problem. Well, sure, less taxes, but we need the income to qualify. So what if we just stop and say, well, how about we restructure it? And then do you want to explain that to the client or do you want a CPA to be able to explain those types of steps, right? You don't want to get involved in tax law and tax planning. So allow Real Tax Remedies to do that for you. And we'll work together to get them where they want to be.
Awesome. So let me ask, for those who may be wondering, if I'm a home buyer and I've got some tax issues that I need help with,
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that my lender can't help me with that? Why is it that I would need your services?
Okay, so lending knows underwriting, FHA, VA, they know their guidelines the same way that I know the IRS inside and out.
Awesome.
So many people think that because they have tax issues, they are unable to buy a home. I'm not saying that all of them can, but I am saying that if they give us a call, we can come up with a plan. Maybe they wanted to buy a home this spring and you bring them to me and I say, okay, Chris, after talking to them, we may need to push it out into 2023 or 2024, and maybe next fall instead of next spring, give me some time to work with it. But having that open door policy doesn't let you sit and show homes or think that you have someone to close in spring when really it's a fall closing, and you can just touch base with me and them and we can work through it. So tax liens are an issue, obviously, when it comes to lending. Tax underwriters don't really like tax liens.
No,
right? They want to be first lien position.
Absolutely.
Understandably.
Yeah.
But there are things you can do with tax liens. Not always, but it's worth, in situations, I will be able to say, okay, we can. Here's what we do. For example, I had a client once with older tax issues. Cleaned them up, hasn't owed recently, owed about $50,000 in past tax. Only about $20,000 had tax liens filed. Okay. So then the underwriter said, I'm sorry, title pulled up tax liens and I can't do much with you. And so what I did was I worked with the realtor to say, okay, do they really have to come in with the amount of money that they are, or can we use some of that money to pay off of just the 2 tax liens and then fix this later?
Okay.
And they were able to come to closing by just kind of restructuring the lending a little bit, restructuring your side of it, and then restructuring mine. Together, we still got them a home. We didn't get rid of their taxes, but we got rid of their tax liens, and we're able to move forward and get them to the closing table.
So because you understand the intricacies of the tax system and you know how to facilitate getting through those issues,
right?
It allows that transaction to be freed up so that we can proceed confidently, right?
Yes, and another thing that we also will do that lenders really appreciate is that we're able to do a couple of things with the, it's called account transcripts. It's assessments. So just because you tell a client to go out and file a tax return, for example, in December, you can't e-file. So if they haven't filed 2021, they have to mail the tax return in. And the lender's gonna say, go mail it in, we need it to process through. Just because you hand the IRS your tax return, that just means that they've received it, not that they've accepted it. So as you know, at closing, there has to be a 4506T, right? To verify that tax return, that what the underwriter used is in fact what the IRS processed. Well, what happens if it's what the IRS has, but they haven't actually done anything with it?
Oh my, yeah.
And through COVID, unfortunately, I think the IRS got really, really backlogged. And it's taking even if you e-file, I have e-file returns that are taking 9 to 12 months to process. Okay. Which will stop closing. If the underwriter needs that income to qualify, they also need the IRS to push it. And other CPA firms, 90% of them, unless they're actually resolution based, most of them will say, well, just keep waiting. Just keep waiting. Leave them alone, let the IRS do their thing. But at Real Tax Remedies, we have a few tricks to be able to push them through. There are taxpayer advocates we can use to get them through faster if we show that it's a hardship, that they're going to lose earnest money, or that they can't close, or they need to refinance for financial reasons. We can get them pushed through a lot quicker because we know those back doors. There's other things you can do that other CPAs won't to be able to speed that process up to get you to the closing table. Okay. So those types of things are where we kind of set ourselves apart and say, no, we're not just going to wait for the IRS or the federal government to do something. We're going to make them for you, for your client.
So can you tell me a little bit about what the process looks like? I'm sure it's going to vary depending on the specific situation, but kind of a 35,000 foot view of what, when a client has got a need. Can you take me through a little bit about what that process looks like with Real Tax Remedies?
Sure. So usually, especially if it comes from a lender or from a realtor, it's kind of one of those things where when you have IRS issues, you don't want to fix the IRS issue. You want something else. They want to buy a home, so they have to fix it. So then when you hand it off to me, it's much better to just me and them have a conversation, because I will learn a lot more about them than you will.
Oh, sure.
Just like the lender learns different things about them than the realtor, and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. So you all got to share information to get to know the client. So you get them to me. I have a 30-minute consultation, approximately, depending on how bad or good it is. Have a consultation. It's for free. I just learn their situation. I come up with a strategy. Because I'm not a salesperson, a lot of resolution companies, they put you on the phone with a salesperson who doesn't do the work. At Real Tax Remedies, whoever you talk to, it also does the work. So we can sit there and go, okay, here's the realistic view of what we can do for you. We come up with a strategy, including trying to get them into that home or whatever else that they need. And then we move forward. Then they'll come on board, we'll sign an authorization, we'll let you know what to expect and set some realistic expectations, and then we move forward. If they need tax returns filed, we do that. If they need bookkeeping, a lot of times self-employed people aren't up to speed on their taxes because they just got a box full of receipts, we have bookkeeping.
Oh gosh, so you can actually help with a box full of receipts that everybody has.
Yes.
That right there. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Which a lot of realtors come to us with.
All right. I know nothing about that. No. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's and I don't know, it's bookkeeping, but I call it like the quick and dirty bookkeeping, where you just really need someone to just add it up and just so you have that number to give to your tax accountant, right? Because tax accountant doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
They want to prepare the return. So we offer that. We do the account transcripts, the assessments. We do compliance checks to make sure that.
Okay.
A lot of times, if you think you have 2 years of issues, you may have 3 or 4 or even more. So we do a full compliance check. We scrub the IRS from 1995 forward to 2022, and we see what the IRS knows about you, and then we help you prepare those returns. The other thing that self-employed people often run into is they don't know their income. Meaning, you get 10 different 1099s, but you lost 2 of them at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So there's missing income. What do? Well, I don't want to file a tax return, the IRS will get mad at me. We do, in our compliance check, we go and find that income from the IRS so you don't have to. So it takes away the pressure. The bookkeeping portion takes away the pressure of, what do I do with that box of receipts that we all hate? And then also, what if I miss income? What if I forgot about a job I did back in June, or a check that I got from this place or that? We find all that so that the IRS records match your return so you don't have issues later on. So lots of different stuff that we do that's a little bit different than a normal CPA firm.
Okay. And then how much does your services cost? How do you structure the pricing?
The pricing is very similar. So our tax department, which does the normal returns, we do S corps, partnerships, C corps. We're a normal tax firm in that way, and our pricing is very similar to any other CPA firm. Actually, we come in a little bit lower on the normal tax return, just the tax prep portion of it. So that is priced out separately, and it's very similar to everyone else. One difference is, especially in our area here locally, Spokane and the Panhandle, a lot of CPA firms aren't even accepting new clients, and they're letting go of old clients because they're too busy. So we do have openings just for normal tax returns. So
that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have someone who's looking to close in spring and needs to get a tax return done January, February, a lot of the CPAs around here are pushing those out to filing extensions because they don't have time to get them in, but we do. So that's one thing, we have openings for new clients. But as far as the pricing, so that's pretty similar. The bookkeeping, it depends on how. It could be $50 a month, or it could be, so you have 12 months worth of box of receipts, right?
Yes, yeah.
For 2022, you've got those 12 months.
And that comes back to haunt you.
Right. It could be as simple as just $50 per month. So, and then we get you the profit and loss. You can hand that off to the tax preparer. The tax preparer has all the information right there, the income, the expenses, the categories, and then off we go. So that's a separate thing. And then the resolution portion really depends on how much you owe.
Okay.
So we do, it can range. And businesses, oftentimes we work with a lot of payroll issues, and those are a little bit tougher, but we can handle them.
Okay.
So on the commercial side, the businesses with payroll issues is definitely a little bit pricier, but it can be anywhere between $1,500 to $5,000, depending on how much work they need.
Okay.
But we're very transparent in that as well.
I love it. I love it. So tell me, if somebody wants to reach out to a client or a lender or a realtor, what is the best way for us to get involved with you?
Give me a call.
Okay. All right.
You can find us. I can post, the information, but my card has the main number on it, so you'll always get someone to pick up and talk to you, a real person, and just have a conversation with us, and let's get to know each other.
You said that consultation is initially no cost, and I mean that's a big thing.
Yes, okay, absolutely.
So if we've got people who are watching that are wondering, hey, I want to buy a home, but man, my taxes are a rat's nest. This might be a great resource for them, right?
I find there's been multiple times where people have called me and I've done the free consultation, and I have actually said, you really don't need our service, you just need to tweak and do this, and I just give a few tips. Changes their life forever. They'll give us a 5-star review and I never received $1. But it's because one thing that founds Real Tax Remedies is me and my 2 partners have decided that it's just time to open up, be honest, reach across the table and do what's right for the client. And if what's right is just giving you a free tip on how to push a tax return through on your own, you don't need to hire me to do that. Like, let me help you. So a free consultation, it's not high pressure. You're not going to get the sales. If you have tax issues, I will say, and you Google 1-800-TAX-HELP or IRS wage garnishment help or something, it takes you to these major corporations that they put you on the phone with a salesperson that's very high pressure. They don't really know what they're doing. If you've ever done that, you will very much appreciate the consultation with me and my partners.
So you're offering a more customized, direct approach, cuts
And
through all the
honest.
red tape, and
honest. And upfront fees, like everything is, by the time you get done, there's a clear path. There's an explanation as to why our fees are what they are, where your money's going, what we're doing with it, and how we're going to get you to the end.
Awesome.
That's what we do.
Well, Becky, this is phenomenal. I think you're offering a tremendous service here to benefit everybody here, not just the clients, but us realtors, and as well as the lenders too. So this was great. I learned so much.
Awesome.
And I really appreciate you coming out, and I look forward to having you back for another conversation.
Thank you.
Before we go, I would just love to ask you, if you had one tip or one piece of advice that you wanted to get out there to clients that you wish people knew as we get towards the new year, what might that be? I know I put you on the spot.
One tip would be file by April. And if your accountant is saying, oh, we'll just file an extension, and you're self-employed, find somewhere else, figure it out, because it is not an extension to pay, it is an extension to file, which means you're incurring penalties and interest between April and October because you didn't pay the taxes because you didn't know what they were because nobody prepared your tax returns in April. How do you know as a self-employed person if you're gonna end up as W-2, you got your withholdings, you're pretty sure your payroll should, but even payroll accountants have messed up and under withheld, and then you end up owing, and now you're paying interest and penalties. And that's the biggest complaint of new clients coming on board that are just not necessarily resolution or have issues, they just want a new accounting firm. It's because their previous accountant pushes them out till October saying, don't worry, we got an extension, it's fine. And then in October, they end up owing $5,000 plus interest and penalties because they didn't know to pay it in April. So don't just go with, if you have your stuff together and you give me that box of receipts in January and I do the bookkeeping portion, let's get your return filed. Don't accept an extension. Let's get it done so you can buy a house this summer, so it can process.
Let's get it done so you can buy that house.
Let's
I
stop
love that.
pushing it out, that's my
Absolutely.
don't accept that anymore.
Awesome. Well, Becky, thank you so much. This has been such a privilege.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm excited to talk to all lenders and realtors. It's back to my roots. So I always have lots of fun getting to lenders because it's, what I was born with. So
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chris.